If you listen to everyone, nobody's responsible for this. Naivete, political freight trains. Look, this is the end of 25 years of work, the end of 7,000 school partnerships for We. This is selling $50 million of real estate assets. We Charity in Canada is over, another victim of the Liberal summer job program fiasco that's already led to the Ethics Commissioner investigating both the Prime Minister and the former Finance Minister, Bill Morneau, who had another bad day today. Likely led to Mr. Morneau quitting politics altogether. It's also led to multiple committees looking into potential conflict of interest. And in that exclusive interview last night on CTV with Mark and Craig Kielburger, CTV's chief news anchor and senior editor Lisa LaFlamme was told that they are devastated by the decision, but, quote, there's no one to blame. They claim they were just politically naive, as you just saw, which is odd since they've been courting the rich and powerful all over the world for decades. So what is the political fallout of all this? Was a badly run government program the cause of the charity's demise? And should the Liberals have done more to stick by them? And what about those committee investigations that have since been dissolved by proroguing Parliament? Will they get back up and running? We've got MPs to weigh in. Liberal MP and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice, Arif Virani, is here. Conservative MP and the new caucus party liaison, Tim Uppal, is back. And the NDP MP and ethics critic, Charlie Angus, joins us. Thanks, all of you, for being here. I'm going to begin with Mr. Virani. Was your government responsible for the collapse of this charity, in part because both the Prime Minister and the then Finance Minister did not recuse themselves, which frankly triggered this whole scandal?
So thank you, Evan. What I'll say to that is that we can't be held responsible for internal decisions with respect to the financial wherewithal of the We Charity. That being said, obviously, you've heard from the Kielburgers yesterday in their interview with Lisa LaFlamme. You've heard that they've indicated that what's transpired over the past summer with the Canada Summer Student Grant obviously played a role. And in that role, we've taken full responsibility. The Prime Minister's taken responsibility, as has Bill Morneau. Each of them have apologized. Each of them have said that they should have recused themselves. So is there a link? Yes, there is a link. But in terms of the internal workings of that charity and its financial preparedness heading into this pandemic and being able to weather the pandemic, I can't speak to that. That's a question that's better put to Craig and Mark Kielburger themselves.
Mr. Uppal, what's your take on if this is a collateral damage of that program?
You know, first of all, he says that they've taken responsibility. If they actually are taking responsibility, then they should provide documents to the committees that are investigating the situation and unredacted. What are they trying to hide now? So if you're saying you took responsibility and you apologize, then there must be nothing to hide. So provide all that information that the committees are asking for. And that's really the problem, though. They knew, Justin Trudeau knew, that this organization was very close to him, giving money to his mother, his brother, free trips to the finance minister. Of course, their actions sunk this charity.
You say their actions sunk the charity. Mr. Angus, what about you? How do you read this? Is this a charity that, that might have gone out of business anyway or closed shop here? Or do you think that the government played a major role in this?
Well, Evan, just listening to the Kielburgers, and they portray themselves still like they're the kids from Thornhill with idealism. This is an incredibly sophisticated organization, as you pointed out, that have courted the powerful, that had a huge corporate marketing machine, that carefully curated their relationship with all the important Liberals, right up to the Prime Minister and his family. And when they were in economic free fall, and that's something that we began to really see while we were looking into the testimony and getting some very I think not credible responses from the Kielburgers. This was an organization that was over leveraged, that reached out, and they had the speed dial numbers. They were able to call Minister Chagger. She set up this meeting. She kept this meeting secret from us. This meeting was a key meeting. They talked with Minister Ning's office. Bill Morneau, I mean, God, they were described by civil servants as, besties. Minister Qualtrough, who spoke at one of their We rallies. Everybody who needed to be at the table for the Kielburgers was at the table for the Kielburgers. So they went down in flames at the end of the day, I think, because they were over leveraged. But the damage that it's done to Canadians' trust is, how was it that a group that was so closely tied with key Liberals got in the driver's seat of this $900 million program that went so badly off the rails?
Mr. Virani, Bill Morneau has just been found to have violated the Elections Act, and he's already been found guilty once of other violations. He's under investigation again, and he's overseeing this. What does that say to people that your senior people in your government were playing fast and loose? They didn't understand the rules. I mean, these are pretty sloppy moments. What does that mean? Do we read into that about the We Charity scandal, that no one was really paying attention to the rules because maybe for whatever reason you didn't care, you didn't know them? What was it?
I think you should treat the response from Mr. Morneau for what it is on its face. I mean, what we have is a finding from the Commissioner of Elections, whom we strengthened in the last Parliament in terms of their mandate and their jurisdiction and their powers. That office operates independently. They've come to a decision. We respect that decision. Mr. Morneau respects that decision. He's complied with that decision, and you've seen that he's put out the requisite response that's been required on his social media. But I think the connection with we is, I think, somewhat speculative insofar as what you're saying is that people aren't adhering to the rules.
Mr. Virani, we just lost your feed. We'll try to get it back. I'm going to put that to Mr. Uppal, and we'll get back to Mr. Virani, of course. Mr. Uppal, I don't know what it says, but what's the political fallout? Will the committees investigating the We get access to the documents from We Charity now if they indeed shutter that organization?
I really hope so. I mean, Canadians deserve to know more about this scandal. We Charity is absolutely embroiled in Justin Trudeau's scandal, and they need to immediately provide those documents to the Finance Committee so we can look into this further. But, as we look at, you're saying, how did this happen? And essentially the Liberals use the pandemic as cover to give their friends money. There's no other way to look at it. A simple Google search would have exposed a lot of the problems that we already was having financially. They chose to ignore all that.
To be fair, just to be fair, the Kielburgers have said they weren't going to profit from this. No one was profiting. When you say give their friends money, they say they weren't going to profit of all this. They were trying to. They say that the bureaucracy was the one that said they're the best organization to deliver this program through this this agreement.
I don't believe their naivety at all. At a time during the pandemic when every other charity was struggling, this organization, Justin Trudeau, very close to Justin Trudeau, was going to get a $500 million agreement that had over almost $30 million in kind of like commissions or fees. So they were profiting as an organization very well at a time when every other organization, every other charity was struggling.
Evan, if I could just
Mr. Angus, what questions do you? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Virani, then I'll get to Mr. Angus. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure I was cut off there, but I think the connection between what's happening with Mr. Morneau and we is at best a speculative connection. We understand the rules. We are always working to adhere to the rules. Was a rule transgressed in respect of we? Yes, Mr. Morneau has taken responsibility for that. But I think what's important is that people need to understand that the ones who come out on the unfortunate end of the we decision are the young people themselves who are losing their jobs right now. Those are the people whose sympathies we need to have in mind, and those are the people that we continue to work towards addressing their needs in the forthcoming throne speech in the upcoming Parliament. And just with respect to Mr. Uppal, he's raised this twice now. He's asked for documents unredacted. The motion itself called for redactions of documents that weren't relevant or that contained cabinet confidences. We waived cabinet confidences exceeding the terms of the motion so that even more material could be disclosed. What was redacted was personal and private information of private citizens and also public servants. That's entirely within the norms of what the motion called for, and we've been more than forthcoming with that committee study, and we will continue to be forthcoming with cooperating with whatever committee study occurs in the forthcoming Parliament.
All right, Charlie Angus, you wanted to respond.
Well, I had to stop there and pick my jaw up off the floor when I heard that. What malarkey. What was supposed to be redacted was by the law clerk. And the Liberals said, oh, the law clerk blacked out all these documents. And then the law clerk has to come out and say, he did not black out these documents. These were blacked out by the Prime Minister's office. So this misrepresentation has been typical, unfortunately, what's happened. It's like when we had Minister Chagger. Did you ever meet with the Kielburgers or we before this went to Cabinet? Oh, no, we never discussed this. Well, then we find out about the April 17th meeting. And in those documents, Evan, we see that April 17th meeting is the key meeting. So when the Liberals drove the bus back and forth again and again over the civil service and blamed them, in the documents, it's clear the civil service were being directed by finance, by Minister Chagger, by the relations to the Prime Minister. And in those documents, Evan, I think one of the most shocking things of all is that the Kielburgers have photos of Margaret Trudeau and Sophie Gregoire as part of their pitch to senior government staff. And nowhere in those 5,000 pages did anyone flag this and say, hey, guys, I think this is a problem. They're playing on the financial connection to the Prime Minister's family to get this deal. The Liberals went ahead and rubber stamped a really bad plan.
Guys, I unfortunately got to leave this here. We're going to have many more opportunities to speak about this. I know these committees are going to try to get back. Mr. Virani, Mr. Angus, and Mr. Uppal, always good to have the three of you on the program. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you.